December 16th, 6:15 p.m., I saw Spider-Man No Way Home in theaters with a few friends, and it was good. I'm going to talk about the movie now. I saw the movie twice. I saw it in theaters, and then a few hours later, I saw it again through other means to kind of collect my thoughts on it a little more and to write down a few talking points. So, I could discuss it and not sound insane, which is still going to happen anyway because I still sound insane. Spoilers! Spoiler warning! Holy spoilers! This is your spoiler warning. This is your big spoiler warning. I'm going to put it right here at the beginning because I'm going to talk about all the big moments, all the big characters and the plot points. I'm going to talk about them. I'm going to talk about what I thought about them. So if you haven't seen the movie, spoiler warning, this is your chance to back out. Come back later. Adios. Spider-Man No Way Home is the conclusion of the Home trilogy, which is consisted of Homecoming, Far From Home, and No Way Home. I don't know why all these movies have home in the title, but I guess it's better than calling them Spider-Man, Spider-Man 2, and Spider-Man 3. So there's that. Jon Watts directed this trilogy, and I could be wrong, but I think he might be the first MCU director to, finish a trilogy. And look, I'm gonna answer the question posed by the title right now. Yes, Spider-Man No Way Home is a great movie. An incredible movie, even. One of the better superhero movies. One of the better Spider-Man movies. It's definitely very high up in my ranking of, MCU movies. I'd say it's in my top 5, to be honest. So let's now talk about the actual movie itself. Spider-Man No Way Home picks up immediately after Far From Home. I'm not kidding. Literally, right as that movie ends, this one begins, and we are thrust into the chaos of Peter and, Michelle, after everyone knows who Peter is and they think he killed Mysterio. The beginning act of the movie, the first act, is solid. I think there are some, there's a bit of comedy that's kind of misplaced in this movie, but that's kind of to be expected at this point. Not every joke is going to land. But I think the intro does a good job at building the chaos and kind of getting you pulled in right away, as opposed to, taking more time to, dive into things. Instead, we jump headfirst in. There's a bit of chaos, there's a little anarchy, and I like it. I like the beginning. I think it's solid, gets the point across. The first big, moment that I'm going to talk about is the Matt Murdock scene. Charlie Cox reprises his role as Matt Murdock, aka Daredevil, from the Daredevil Netflix series. Now, the Daredevil show seems to be kind of canon. Spoilers for Hawkeye, but a recent episode of Hawkeye revealed the Kingpin, played by Vincent D'Onofrio, who was also in the Netflix series, and now No Way Home has brought Daredevil in, which is cool. My theater didn't really seem to care that much that he was there. I was dying at that point. I was losing my mind that he was there. And I do like Matt Murdock's inclusion because he wasn't in it very long. He was there for one scene. He had a few fun lines. He caught a brick that was thrown through a window. We had a funny bit of banter with him and Peter. It was nice. It didn't distract. That's what I'm saying. I guess I should probably talk about the multiverse stuff. I'm going to just get the multiverse stuff out of the way. For the most part, I think the villains were handled pretty well. They all kind of had moments where they stood out. I think the 3 main antagonists, or the 3 villains that we really focus on, were Dr. Octopus, Green Goblin, and Electro. I like what they did with Electro. His redesign is much better than the weird blue thing. And it is the same version as the one in Amazing Spider-Man 2, but he has a new body, because he's in a different universe, I guess. I don't know. Jamie Foxx was pretty solid. No, I really enjoyed how they handled him in the film, and I really do love Willem Dafoe and Alfred Molina as Green Goblin and Doc Ock. They are 2 of my favorite actors and 2 of my favorite supervillains in comic book movies, and seeing them come back made my heart nearly explode. I think what they did with Octavius was pretty solid. I like how they did maintain the fact that he's not just like a villain, you know what I mean? Like, he's being manipulated by the arms, and we do see the nice, Otto Octavius for a bit, which I did like. I was worried from the trailers they were just going to make him like a generic villain, but for the most part, I think they handled him well. And I I absolutely love the Green Goblin in this movie. That man is a straight up menace this whole runtime. He knew Peter for like a day, and he ruined his entire life. Willem Dafoe gives a brilliant performance. I loved every second of him on screen. I laughed when they did the funny meme. God, let's just listen. I'm going to talk about Willem Dafoe. Can we talk about Willem Dafoe? People praise Alfred Molina for his performance, and he's incredible. But for me, I think Willem Dafoe as the Green Goblin is one of the best comic book villains in a superhero movie villains in general. He's such a menace in every scene. He's incredible. And you do still have the sympathy. You know, when he's Norman, you feel kind of bad for him. But then he switches, and he's Goblin, and it's crazy. He's laughing. The fight between him and Peter in the apartment complex or whatever, that was hectic. When Peter's just going to town, just punching him over and over again, and the Goblin's just laughing. Dude, that was pretty epic. And the final, showdown between MCU Peter and the Goblin was really, really great. It was a level of brutality that hasn't been seen in the Spider-Man movies in the MCU, and it really reminded me of the final battle from the first Raimi movie, which I love, as I'm sure you can tell. Praising Willem Dafoe and Alfred Molina aside, I think the cast in this movie are at their peak, their A game. I'm gonna say it, you know what? I'll say it. This is Tom Holland's best performance as Spider-Man. In this film, we see a side of his Peter Parker that we haven't really gotten. He gets a little sad in this movie. He gets a little mad, and by a little mad, I mean very mad. The final battle, as mentioned, with him and the Goblin, was incredible. The choreography was great, but what I really enjoyed was the acting in that scene in particular. Peter was fully ready to kill the Goblin, and he very nearly did, which I thought was so interesting, and I never expected the MCU to take this direction with the character. I think a lot of people who don't like Tom's Spider-Man will like him in No Way Home, and I think going forward, the MCU has created a version of Spider-Man that is going to please people, probably. Uncle Ben still doesn't seem to exist, but it's fine, because in this movie, Tom's Peter faces his greatest challenges yet. He's really put through the emotional ringer. Seeing as we're on the subject of emotional ringer already, I'm going to segue into talking about the one aspect of the movie that I think fell very flat, and that was the death of Aunt May. Now, the film treats this as a big emotional moment. The death itself was fine, the acting was good in it. I think Tom really acted his balls off, and for the rest of the film, it's kind of the instance that gives Tom point and purpose to want to murder the Green Goblin. So I understand its significance to the story, and I appreciate it, but it didn't really hit the way that maybe it could have. Because Aunt May kind of sucked in the MCU movies, if I am being completely honest. I'm not the first person to have said this, but I think Marissa Tomei has been the weakest Aunt May, and that is by no means her fault, right? It's kind of the writers. It's on the writers for this. In the entire trilogy, May hasn't really done anything of note, except for maybe the first Homecoming, where she had that conversation with Peter. She was basically a joke, right? Haha, Aunt May's sexy. Great, I get it. Can you give me something to work with here? Christ almighty. Spider-Man PS4 did Aunt May's death a lot better because she was a prominent character in that game. She had emotional weight to her, she had quite a few scenes showcasing her bond with Peter, and she had an actual role to play in the story, and however minor it was. So, in the game, her death hit hard, and it was the big catalyst and the kind of climactic moment that really made the audience go, "Oh, damn, Aunt May's dead." But in No Way Home, that the emotion that the filmmakers probably intended us to feel didn't really come across. Aunt May's death, I didn't care, but I also enjoyed the fact that it was this thing that made Tom kind of lose his chip. So it's kind of a double-edged sword for me. Now, I'm going to talk about Toby and Andrew. Toby and Andrew, holy crap. Okay, so I grew up with both of them, and so seeing them again on the big screen was an experience that I don't think I'll ever have in a movie again, if I'm being completely honest with you. I'm frankly impressed that the film didn't ruin Toby and Andrew. Their characters were consistent from their respective movies. There is explicitly one point in the film where I nearly let out some tears, genuine tears. I nearly cried, and it was a bit towards the end of the movie. So MJ, she falls off the Statue of Liberty thing. Tom goes to catch her, but he's attacked at the last second, and then Andrew jumps off and he saves her. He saves her, and he stands there holding her for a moment, and he starts tearing up, and that was incredible. He made up for Gwen's death, and a lot of people figured from that Andrew was going to save MJ and it would be nice, but seeing that visualized was incredible. And Andrew Garfield, holy crap, Andrew Garfield really sold the moment. You can see on his face, you can see the feelings he's going through. He's sad, the regret. There's a little hope, maybe. It's just great. It's magnificent. I really like that moment, and it's a brief moment too. It doesn't last too long. It's nice. I love it. John Watts. Sincerely, John Watts, I hope you're getting head right now, buddy. I sincerely hope John Watts is getting the maddest head of his life. Not even kidding. Good on him. That was beautiful. That was a great moment. And seeing Toby in the suit was magnificent. I like the banter between the three Spider-Men, in particular on the Statue of Liberty, where they're talking about their webs, and the bit where Toby and Andrew are cracking their backs was pretty funny. It was enjoyable. And it was just really nice seeing all three Spider-Men together. The bit where they meet Tom on the roof of the school, and they have that emotional conversation with him. Toby says, with great power comes great responsibility. That's incredible. That is genuinely one of the best things I have seen in a movie in my life. And yeah, call me a superhero shill. Call me a little peasant all you want. Film bros, come after me. I'll take every single one here. But this entire final third act of the movie was incredible. It was everything that I wanted it to be and more. And I haven't even gotten to the ending of the film, which I really enjoyed.